Well, guys, I must say, I'm stunned. Dare I say, I'm actually shocked by what we're actually going to be talking about here in this video. I believe it's very, very hard to actually convert someone that believes in BLM. But you know what? Maybe, just maybe, some people that supported Black Lives Matter or even started their own individual chapters, maybe they actually realized and waked up to the lies of BLM, Democrats, Joe Biden. Because, guys, make no mistake about it, Joe Biden used BLM to his advantage. He was out there supporting Black Lives Matter and all of the destruction out there in the streets during the summer of 2020. But when he actually got into the White House, remember, the BLM leadership reached out to Joe Biden and said, hey, we got you in. Now we want to have a conversation with you. Joe Biden never returned their phone calls. It's just that simple. I could have actually told Patrisse Cullors that Joe Biden was not going to, at any point, reach out to BLM. It was never going to happen. Joe Biden is not about Black lives. I mean, Joe Biden is really Jim Crow Joe. Joe Biden knows that he doesn't have to show any support for Black Lives Matter. Why? Because he was roughly going to get 88, 90% of the black vote. Now, flash forward now to 2023, going into 2024. Oh boy, Joe Biden is in a whole bunch of trouble when it comes to the black vote. That black vote is eroding immensely. I mean, guys, that's showing that Donald Trump has something like 23% of black support in the swing states. That is devastating for Joe Biden. Well, guys, that actually brings us to this one former BLM activist. He's woken up. He's actually done with BLM. He actually has a different type of BLM organization now, but the BLM chapter that he started, he left it because he woke up. Check this out. On the Epic Times here, BLM branch co-founders election bombshell. Trump best candidate for president. How many people do you actually know that supported BLM are out there saying, hey, I now want to make America great again by casting my vote for Donald Trump? This is shocking right here, guys. Now, his name is Mark Fisher right here. And he actually is the co-founder of Black Lives Matter Rhode Island. And you can see his picture right here on the left. He is no longer associated with Black Lives Matter Rhode Island. It says here, Mark Fisher, co-founder of a Black Lives Matter chapter in Rhode Island, is advocating for former President Donald Trump's return to the Oval Office in 2024 and insists he's far from being the only one in the BLM movement to feel this way. Now, that's pretty shocking right there. Now, is it the vast majority of people that support BLM? No. The vast majority of those people are actually communists and Marxists. Maybe Mark Fisher, I don't know him personally, anything like that. Maybe he was just kind of thinking, you know what? BLM may actually be out there supporting Black lives. But we know, guys, that the support for BLM has now went into the toilet because it's nothing more than a money laundering scheme. BLM Global Network raised something like $90 million. None of that money was put back into the black community. It says here in a recent interview with podcast host Kim Iverson, Mr. Fisher was asked to defend remarks he made earlier that President Trump is the best candidate we have. Quote, because everybody else sucks, Mr. Fisher replied, later praising President Trump for his straightforward approach and contrasting it with what perceives as the Democrat Party's hypocrisy. Ms. Iverson sought to clarify Mr. Fisher's response, asking if he thought President Trump was simply the best of a bad lot and, frankly, not the great either. Now, this is going to shock you right here. He's not saying that Trump is the best of the worst. He's not saying that at all. This is what he said. Mr. Fisher replied by highlighting his personal regard for President Trump, adding that it's hard not to appreciate what the 45th president brings to the table, given the shortcomings of the incumbent, talking about Beijing Biden. Quote, I like Trump, he said, before adding, I think right now, who we have sitting in the Oval Office is just a deep disappointment. He expressed, quote, disdain for Beijing Biden, adding that he, quote, really dislikes Kamala Harris as well. But that shouldn't be a shocker, man. I mean, nobody likes Kamala Harris. Kamala Harris is actually more unpopular than Joe Biden. Now, we hear a lot of things about the Democrats really wanting to get away from Biden, but however, they're not even pushing Kamala Harris because they know that she is actually worse than Joe Biden. I mean, Kamala Harris is definitely younger, but she's just as incompetent, if not more. My goodness, man. But anyway, reacting to Mr. Fisher's critical remarks about the incumbent and the words of praise for the former president, Ms. Iverson suggested that her interviewee was probably a lone figure in the BLM movement who thinks this way. Quote, no, Mr. Fisher insisted. I feel like the tide is starting to turn, he said, adding that he thinks a lot of black people are starting to pivot off that Democratic plantation. You know what? Based on the polls, and I'll take the polls for what they are, he's right about this. The black support for the Democrat Party right now is probably like at a 60, 70-year low right now. It is bad. He goes on, he says this, quote, for so long, we've been slaves to that, he added. The concept of the Democrat plantation was discussed deeply in a New York Times bestseller written by political activist and social media personality Candace Owens titled Blackout, How Black America Can Make Its Second Escape from the Democrat Plantation. In a book, Ms. Owens argues that Democrat policies hurt rather than help the black community in America by pushing policies that perpetuate government dependency, a culture of victimhood, and miseducation. Well, she's right about that because it was actually the Democrat Lyndon Johnson that truly destroyed the black family. Lyndon Johnson and his liberal policies, welfare, the welfare state, that was created by Democrats. He made sure that the black woman depended on the government and not the father of her children. Guys, why do you think that a woman can't actually get welfare with a man in the house? Because they wanted to destroy the black family, and they have achieved that. Because now, black children only have the mother and the father in the home in like 20, 25% of families. Back in like the 1960s, it was like 75, 80%. It has completely flipped because of Democrat policies. And even Mr. Fisher here says, quote, their policies are basically racist policies. Yeah. Strike at the heart of the black family and the nuclear family in general. And I believe Donald Trump is the opposite. He's going to tell you how it is. He's going to give it to you straight. He's not going to be a hypocrite and stab you in the back like the Democratic Party loves to do. Mr. Fisher resigned from his leadership position at BLM Rhode Island and is now the founder and executive director of Maryland's BLM Inc., a pro-entrepreneurship education and financial empowerment nonprofit for African Americans and their families. So there you have it. This guy got off the BLM plantation. He's not down with the Democrats anymore. He hates Joe Biden, hates Kamala Harris, but he likes Trump. He's not going out there and voting for Trump simply because he thinks he's the best of the worst. Now, in the case of Joe Biden doesn't have any supporters. When people cast their ballot for Joe Biden, he supposedly got 81 million votes simply because Trump was bad, not because Biden was good. And the Democrats really kind of rigged their primaries and put Joe Biden in there because Joe Biden's support during the primaries was not there. It was not good. Just like Hillary 2016, the Democrats really wanted Bernie Sanders, but they rigged their system. They did that to their own voters, man. But Joe Biden is in a hot mess right now. It's a disaster, man, when you actually have a guy that was supporting BLM, maybe not the global network, but still. All these other BLM chapters rose up out of the original Marxist movement of BLM Global Network. Now, that whole thing is falling apart maybe other people in the BLM movement realized they actually got scammed. They got hoodwinked. They got duped. So we'll have to see. But that's just my thoughts on this. What do you guys think of this? Black and White Network fans, let us know what you think about all this in the comments. Make sure to subscribe to the channel. And we'll catch you next time.